So, this is Ace Week, and this is an episode of Autism and me. And of course, I am joined by a very lovely pusscat by the name of Jess. Oh, we won't disturb Jess any further, but and a very nice cup of tea. As I yes. And so, that is an interesting question that one might ask. How does Aspec and autism come together? After all, and who am I to talk about this? Well, I am Ed. I am autistic. I am demisexual, which for anyone who's unfamiliar means I am needing the sorry, I sometimes have to think of the English words. The emotional connection with other people in order to feel the desire for sex with them. Yeah, I think. Well, it's sort of like, yeah, we can do the sex, fine. But it's more for the hugs. Once I find that person, das ist gut. Aber do not get sidetracked. After all, we are doing very positive video, and there's also the aromantic, or at least I think that's what people seem to be telling me. I mean, I'm not entirely sure what romance is. They tell me it's something to do with this thing called dating. I do not know what this dating thing is. I mean, there's marking dates on the calendar, but then there's this thing that humans do, I'm told. I know, maybe it's a cultural thing. You know, where's a mensch, once a Frau. Sorry, the man and the woman. Or the man and the man, or the woman and the woman, the NB and the NB, the NB and the man, the NB and the woman, agender and the agender, gender. You know, there's many combinations of all these factors. Aber they do stuff. That stuff is unspecified. Or at least, to my mind, it's like, but what would that be? You know, some say, you know, they just do fun things together. That's like, is das not freundlich? Sorry, is that not what friends do? You know, it's kind of like me. You know, all these things go on in my head. I try and work out what I'm doing, but that is okay. So that's the question. So we got a little baseline. So an aromantic is someone who doesn't, or only fleetingly, or perhaps rarely, experiences romantic attraction. An asexual is someone who doesn't feel, or rarely feels, sexual attraction. And then there's also autism, which is what is called a quote-unquote developmental disorder. I dislike this term because it has a sort of presumption of what is and is not supposed to be developed as a human being. This is kind of restrictive and culturally insensitive, and puts a lot of barriers in people's ways that really don't need to be there. And focusing on the dignity of human life is more important. How do we help each person live in their full dignity? So, how do these ideas of the autism and the Aspec fit together for me? I'm not sure it really counts for me, since in a lot of ways I feel like I don't really fit into an asexual or aromantic community. It feels almost like I technically tick the box, but it doesn't feel that way in real life. Because, well, I was trying to think how to explain it. There's a lot of lived experience of a person that is asexual, because in a lot of ways it is defined by not fitting in the norm of a society that assumes that someone is by default heterosexual, assumes that they fit into the gender of man or woman, and the idea that there's no in-between, which is not even scientifically true. Even biological sex has like 2 peaks and then a trough in between. And yes, did I say? Anyway, scientists can explain it far better than some fool like me on the internet. But that's not what you came to hear. So, because as I say, there's this assumption in society that people grow up, that they do this dating thing, that they then find someone, and if they are compatible and it works out, neither of which are particularly clear, at least to me, what this even means, then they will live together, which might, you know, for more traditional, for more conservative, maybe that's the right word, minded people, stay together and actually perform a marriage ceremony, which the liberal state treats as a sort of state permission, as a state sanctification of a relationship, because the state likes to stick itself in the position of God for some blasphemous reason. But that is a rant for another day. What we have here is... sorry, I'd just forgotten. But more importantly, what we have here is an assumption, and then the final part of the assumption, that the path of someone's life after the marriage and the living together, there come the Kinder, whereby you're expected to then reproduce. Now, a lot of people get child-free misunderstood. People who wish to live child-free, so many times they are not anti-people, they're not anti-other people having children. In a lot of ways, they just want the social and legal pressures of not having... Basically, they don't want everyone to be shoved into the box of, you must have children. Children. And I can tell, and my autism has allowed me to tell this, because there's a different social expectation for me, because I'm autistic. The social expectation is that I, well, technically grow up, but still probably stay at home or live in some kind of thing. That I don't do this dating thing, which is why people were very supportive of me. You know, the fact that even in adulthood I don't understand the concept of the romance or what being in a relationship means. I mean, I get it that 2 people can love each other, and yeah, but that is a sort of expression of life and love and living together. You know? what? But when these more sort of like fuzzy things come about, but what the romance is, the fact that I did not understand this, people were like, yeah, that's pretty normal. No one expected me to understand. Nobody expected me to reproduce. Nobody expected me to find somebody. You know, I'm not saying that there are that many people who be openly hostile to the idea of me being in a relationship or me being a sexual being, but people just... But it's sort of like I don't always feel like I really fit in the Aspec world when no one was expecting me to be allosexual, i.e. someone who regularly experiences sexual attraction anyway. You know. Because of the sort of allo-hetero cisgender normative society we live in. But then it's almost like, for me, no one really expected that of me. So... But I don't always feel like I really ought to be in that category. You know, I sometimes feel a bit awkward being in this sort of situation where people are talking about, you know, feeling like they're expected and socially pressured to have children, and, you know, fur babies, i.e. pets, what some people might call pets, don't count. Sorry, I'm slightly struggling to think of how to express this in English, but, you know, how this idea works. I integrate. Yeah. Works. That in this society you will have children. You will have sex. You know, some people, and it's rarer than it used to be perhaps, but some people even get funny about adopting children. And I'm like, dude, you're giving a child a chance at a loving home. What is so wrong with that? But some people are a bit obsessed with genes, I guess. Fortunately, this is much rarer than it used to be. But, you know, there is no... So, but no one was thinking, well, when are you going to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Or what do you say when the person is not the Mensch or the Frau? Ja, das ist nicht... Sorry, I couldn't think of the word, but as I say. So, it's sort of like, I technically fit the box, but I just don't always feel like it's a really appropriate box. Part of the reason I don't make much ace content, or demisexual content, because I know, you know, the idea that, because this idea that me not being particularly interested in sex was just normal, whereas for most of the Aspec community I've encountered, there isn't that expectation. You know, the expectation is very much, what's wrong with you? Maybe you haven't, you know, yeah, that question. You know, that's the statement, yes, to all the Aspecs watching this video. Yeah, I'm about to say it, so, you know, this may hurt, but the whole, maybe you haven't met the right person yet, is the thing that is just, ow. You know, and why is that much more socially acceptable now? You know, I mean, it used to be people, you know, we've grown out of, as a society, we've largely grown out of the idea that, you know, lesbians always come round when they meet the right man. You know, most people would be like, you are a disgusting fool if you think stuff like that. Nein, das ist nicht, you know, that is just disrespectful. But when it comes to Aspec people, for some reason we haven't quite got there yet. And the same thing for bisexual people. You know, oh, you must pick a side. Nein. You don't have to pick a side. Was ist this? The football? Yes, I work on my British integration. And have a cup of tea. But anyway, and funny, it's not the football. You don't have to pick a side if you're bi, or in any way not monosexual. I only attracted to the one gender. You can have, you know, who you are is who you are. You're 100%, you know, you're who you are. It is not, that is not anybody else's business. And it is not anybody else's business to try and shove you into a different box. But then, for me, it felt like the expectation to reproduce just wasn't there. And why? Why should I go round claiming this demisexual identity when it feels like this is not my lived experience? You know, there was an example I was thinking of to perhaps explain it. The idea of the fact, you know, that I technically count as an ethnic minority according to the British government because I don't fit into the... Because, well, the way the British record it, the British government records it, they have 3 white boxes. White Irish, white British, white other. I tick all 3, which means I technically count as a minority ethnic. I think this is rubbish, but this is how bureaucracy works. Hence I say, I work on on integrating into British life and British society. Society, you know, my side's Irish, you know, maybe I have a Belgian surname, but I work on being presentable and that is good. So it doesn't fit, but the point is, I don't have the lived experience. Even if I fill that bit of the paper. And so rightfully, it doesn't feel right. And so in some ways it doesn't feel right, but perhaps maybe that's different because maybe there is more to being demisexual than a social expectation that you always want to have, that you desire sex just from anybody. You know, the whole thing about, you know, those posts people put up on the social media about, you know, they'll show a picture of a Fraulein and say, you know, what, you know, you see her, what's your opening line? And I'm thinking, Kamerade, I do not know her. Was do I say? You say, do I say, I mean, I don't know, Guten Tag? Hallo? Good morning, my name is Ed. How are you today? To me, that is the opening line. What else would it be? You know? Hello, how are you today? You know, good morning, how are you today? That is a good opening line. But, and you know, some people think, you know, people have sort of tried to come up with explanations. Some people don't understand the demisexuality. You know, something like, some of the examples people explain it with are stuff like, so like when a Catholic waits till they're married, which is not actually true. I've explained this in a previous video. A Catholic can still feel sexual attraction and then build a relationship first, but for me it doesn't work like that. I need to find some kind of emotional warmth and then the actual desire will kick in. Perhaps. But, sorry. I don't know why I'm struggling to keep focus, but this is important. I have a cup of tea. Anyway. Anyway, more to the point. Hey, I must also give people a break, because my ranting is extremely powerful. But, so I think you probably all need a break as well, but, and so that's the point. There's also the living of the life in oneself. But other explanations people think of, you know, of like women, which is kind of a, which is actually more about, says a lot more about patriarchal norms, that the woman must be basically passively sexual, i.e. only sexual when someone else shows a sexual interest in her, which does rob her of her autonomy in a lot of ways. But a lot of people have been raised with this idea and think about it as normalerweise, even though, why? Why is it normalerweise to think that, to be sort of like think as of sex as something that a woman can't naturally want, but just gives a man as a reward for, you know, giving her stuff? Why do we think of this as normalerweise when actually it's just a social construction? After all, our medieval ancestors did not think this. They thought everyone was kind of into it, you know. And they actually seem to be quite positive about this. Hence why they believe, a woman could bathe completely naked in front of strangers as long as her hair was covered. Oh yeah. But anyway, so as a historian, that proves that a lot of this is socially constructed, because these ideas are not always throughout history, and culturally different as well. I'm sure plenty of people who aren't white or from Western cultures will also have different social norms. And other explanations people come up with, using the fact that my dad's side are Irish, or the whole, but hey, that's kind of racializing people in a way, for non-American viewers, because of the way viewers, this might sound a bit for American viewers this might sound a bit strange, but it's one of those interesting social phenomena of the way that anti-Irish discrimination kind of gets treated in Britain and America a bit differently. And so, but the point is, and for a lot of people, is like, demisexuality is just, what is that? But it is a point. And it would be important for me when I actually find someone, for them to understand. It's like, we need, building it up, and some people think, oh, isn't that sweet, or isn't that pure? But no, I'm not, it's not a choice for me. It's just me trying to be me. This authentic self. Probably why maybe this is why I must have forgotten to remember my accent training, the thing where, like in my videos, I try and sound more English, or at least British. But, it's been a long day, so I kind of forget these things sometimes. Well, have a cup of tea. So, being Aspec and autistic, it's one of those strange ones. There's a lot of interesting contrasts, and feeling like in some bits really fit in, some bits really don't, but I just want to say thank you for, if you still want to accept me into your group. Sorry. Das ist nicht... Community! Ja, Community! If you want to accept me into the demisexual community and the aromantic community, in spite of all the stuff I've just said to you in front of this camera, well, thank you, and however you fit onto the spectrum, many spectrums of split attraction and stuff, just want to say it was lovely having you here.